you, we've already heard about the subject. So you write down what you know. Then you research just to learn more on the subject so you can have more to talk about. Then you generate your own content. So this, you just put together what you know with what you found out when you researched. Then you focus and put all your information in order. So draft a presentation objective. This is what you want people to come away with at the end of your presentation. You want them to feel a certain way or have a different opinion on something, you would think that's how you present it. Try other focusing techniques. This one, they made a point to put the 90-second elevator rule. So it's like if you're in the elevator and you had to tell somebody what your whole presentation was in 90 seconds. So you just want to make sure you have the high points, and that's definitely what you want to hit first. And then order the content. This is the great outline, which I've always hated outlines. They've never helped me at all. I always wrote the paper first and then did the outline. But they also had something in there which I like to do, and it's like a map. So you just write down your ideas, circle them, and then put an arrow like you want this one first, and then this idea, you want that one second and third, which I think helps a lot better than the outline. So now, yeah.
Decide how you will open. Um, this section doesn't have need to be too long or complex because you do not want your audience to wonder where you are going before the talk. So you have to set the stage, which consists of connecting with your audience, grab their attention by using vivid images, anecdote, or ask a question. Uh, Always include preview in your presentation. Um, that means you have two structured approaches, which are the direct approach and the indirect approach. The direct approach consists of, for example, saying in the last, no, sorry, the direct approach consists of, for example, saying for the next 30 minutes, I am going to talk about the benefit of the system. For the indirect approach, you have to say, for example, for the next 30 minutes, I am going to talk about two topics. So I am going to talk about this and I am going to talk about that. Yeah. Plan a well-structured project. You have for the structure of the presentation, you can there a structure for the self presentation and for the tell presentation. For the tell presentation, you can use the topical structure, the time-based structure, or the contrast-based structure. The topical structure consists to analyze the reason why the, the, the problem exists and highlight those problems. And the time-based structure, the activity has to be structured by time. That means you have to start with the past, the present, and go with the future. For the self-presentation, you have to use the topical structure, which consists of grouping ideas, and from those ideas you can like do section, and from those subsections you can talk about the problem and give a recommendation or solutions. For the problem solution structure, which is from the self structure, you have to address the problem first and at the end propose propose a solution. Moving from one section to the next, you have to use explicit transition when you present and take a look backward to talk about just a little bit about the previous section before going to the next section. And now determine how you will close. There are two ways to close concerning the informative talk or the tell. You have to use the final comments have to recap what you said before during the whole presentation, and the closing to close a persuasive talk or cell presentation, the final comment has to close the cell.
Alright, so after you're done with your presentation, you want to get ready to interact with your audience members through questions and answers. You want to get ready for this by having the right attitude. You want to make everybody feel welcome for them to be able to participate. You also want to set time aside. You can either choose to have the questions and answers throughout the presentation, which is good because people can get their questions clarified throughout the presentation, but it can also set you back in time, or it can get you off track. Or you can just do it at the end of the presentation, which is good because you're able to control the whole presentation and the flow of the information. The only bad thing is that people can be confused throughout the whole thing. You want to value the questions. Think of it as a compliment because they're actually wanting to know more about what your presentation is about. And you want to practice responding. You want to anticipate the type of questions that they will be asking and practice a few different responses. You also want to refine your listening skills. You can do this by looking like a good listener, by using your nonverbal skills such as posture, movement, and eye contact. You can encourage participation by asking open-ended questions, nodding and smiling when they're asking their questions, and not interrupting them when they're asking questions. Lastly, you want to paraphrase the questions, not just repeat what they said, but rather translate it into your own words to avoid any miscommunication. You want to respond effectively. You want to stay in your message. Think of it as this is your time for you to be able to get your message heard across. You want to be brief with interesting details. You want to get your point across, but in a short period of time. You don't want to go on and on and on. And you want to keep everybody involved, and you can do this by asking different questions to different sections of the classroom. Number 4, you want to listen for challenging or tough questions. You have your typical clear questions. You can just let them know that you are not understanding what they're asking. You have your limiting questions. Those are the ones that you have a limit type of answer that you can give, or they're leading you to give out an answer that you don't want to give. And you have your don't know questions. Don't just make up false information. Just let them know that at the moment you don't have the answer, but you will get back at them and make sure you follow up. You might also have to deal with difficult audience. People who just don't have your best interest at heart for whatever reason. You have your pontificators. Those are the ones that usually just love to talk and talk and talk and go on and on. You can just answer briefly and get back on track. You also have your nitpickers. Those are the ones that will choose the smallest little details and question you about that. You can just let them know that what the whole picture is instead of focusing on that small detail. You also have your needlers, which are the sarcastic people or the ones that try to belittle you. You can just clearly and firmly restate your facts and opinions. And you have your distractors. Those are the ones that love to have side conversations and like roll your eyes at you while you're presenting. You can just ask them or just wait for them to stop, or you can just focus on the people that are actually paying attention to you. Lastly, you might have to deal with online comments if you choose to have a back channel, such as Twitter or chat rooms. It's a good way because you have more people that can hear your message, and it's another way to interact with your audience, but it can also create a distraction and interfere with listening. You also have a high chance of having unflattering comments because to be comfortable with the technology and use it to your own advantage. In order to deal with those 2 points, it's really important to be able to control it without letting it get personal. Any questions?
Okay. Will you read the quiz questions, please?
Okay. So, number 1, collect information and generate ideas by, set the stage, grab your attention, and always include a preview or examples of either 1, describe how you will open, 2, describe the content of the body, or 3, decide how to close. And number 3, refine your listening skills by these 3 behaviors. Blank like a good listener, encourage, blank, and answer questions. And then challenging questions fall into 3 categories.